Community's fourth season saw things fall apart. Not totally, mind, there were good bits in that fourth season, and it was rarely dreadful, but changes in the writer's room and NBC's firing of showrunner Dan Harmon had led to a clear step down in quality, and by the end of production, the show had even begun to lose core cast members. Add to this the dwindling viewership, and it looked like Community's future was shaky. It looked like the end. But as I expect most of you know, it wasn't. Community ran for 2 more seasons, both of which contain some of the show's all-time best episodes. See, as the last season 4 episodes aired in the spring of 2013, the viewers who'd stuck around waited for news, fearing the worst. But when that news came, it was a shock. Not only had Community been renewed for a 5th season, Season 4's showrunners were out, and largely thanks to the tireless efforts of Joel McHale, Jeff's actor, Harmon was back. Community had a chance at redemption, at rebirth, a chance to prove it should continue, and it grabbed a hold of that chance with both hands. The result was Season 5 Episode 1, Repilot. To quote a contemporary review, the show was back, and back to being itself. But how did one episode revive a floundering show? How did Harmon and co right the ship? And how did the show justify its continuation? Let's have a look, shall we? Repilot opens in a fantasy. We're shown an extravagant advert for Jeff Winger's new moral law firm before it crashes down to Earth.
I am the system. I consume humanity. There is no escape.
Objection!
Jeff Winger, hero at law.
555, here.
Maybe you should have spent less money on special effects.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Francis Ford Repo Man.
This episode is exactly as self-aware as you'd expect from the name. Consider the conversion of the study room into a records room, and so, on one level, that opening is Repilot setting up a clear back-to-basics idea. Today, Community isn't claymation, or western pastiche, or felt puppets even. It's a show about a bunch of people in a community college. Or rather, who went to a community college. Fantasy, and the inherent artifice of television that Community became more and more consciously aware of, has fallen away. Forget the image you had of Community. For now, at least, this is the show. The slide into absurdity that began midway through Season 1 is reversed, and as the title suggests, we're back to the pilot. We're back to reality. We're back to a guy standing in rooms, convincing people to do things, and talking his way out of trouble. And the show lampshades this snap back to reality pretty clearly.
This is a 4-year process. We went in one end as real people and out the other end as mixed up cartoons.
Cool.
But on another level, the fantasy that seems to collapse as that ad ends is a simpler one. It's the fantasy that Jeff changed, that Greendale made him a better person. The basic reality of his character arc across the last 4 years, as represented by the strong moral underpinnings built into his failed practice, is coming into question. Was he stupid to believe in it? Were we? Repilot's cynical opening sequence suggests so.
It's a good place for good people.
It's a diploma mill. It turns idiots into bridge collapsers and Jeff Winger into an attorney that thought he could help people?
And so, all but resigned to that failure, Jeff takes a job from his old lawyer nemesis Alan to build a case against Greendale. When Jeff returns to the campus, it's hard to shake a sense of familiarity. From the now rare establishing shot to the score,
another magic year at Greendale. Rank America's #2 community college.
To the fact that Jeff's at Greendale because of a lie.
You're here to save me, aren't you?
Yes.
The show seems to deliberately evoke the particular aesthetic of its first ever episodes. Before long, that evocation is made impossible to miss.
I see your value now.
Clemente, why?
I see your value now. It's a callback to when we met first season, and me calling you your seasons is a callback to my first season dialogue.
After hearing Jeff's false justification for returning to school, the dean had called Abed, and what do you know, just like he had back at the study group's birth, Abed had invited the rest of the Greendale gang unbidden. Jeff isn't thrilled to hear this, and there is a sense, I think, in which the episode itself feels similarly. To continue a show about a community college after the characters have graduated is to yank its characters out of an assumed happily ever after and back into a land of problems to overcome and arcs to act out. Harmon's spoken in the past about Community's characters feeling like family to him, and you don't do that to family. Not unless you've got a good reason for it. There has to be a reason here. Anyway, with Abed's ringing up of the old gang, it becomes clear that the events of this episode will mirror those of the pilot, and not in a merely superficial way. Like the pilot, the study group members have arrived at Greendale with trouble in their personal lives. The stakes of Jeff's meddling are now more or less what they were 4 years ago. Innocent, struggling people have been thrown into the mix. Shortly after this unexpected reunion, we see the last remnants of Jeff's belief in his change, in the fantasy that Greendale helped is a good place for good people, fall apart.
See, that's the difference between you and Greendale, Alan. They wouldn't shred evidence.
A few moments later.
Why is there a big empty box on your desk that says Humphreys on it?
Those first echoes of Community's pilot hadn't gone unnoticed by Jeff, but it's this which gives Jeff the push he needs to embrace this sense of repetition, and recommit to the manipulator conman role he'd used and abandoned in that initial episode. And so, after Alan's scheme falters, Jeff's begins.
You just lost our client!
Yeah. But I can create 5 new ones.
So dusty. Let's get these on.
I forgot what it was like to be good at being bad.
The gambit is simple. Instead of an off-screen ex-pupil suing the school, Jeff must convince his ex-study group to, or rather must convince them to have that idea themselves.
It's just like that movie that you keep crowing about. You talking about Inception? That's right, Morty. This is gonna be a lot like that.
It doesn't take long at all for Jeff to get cooking. No, even after Alan busts in and reveals the ruse, all this is worryingly easy for Jeff. At moments, you'd forget the last 4 years happened at all. At moments, it seems like Jeff has. But when the scheme is exposed, when Jeff's trying to sell it to a now-aware Greendale 7, or Greendale 6, or actually Greendale 5 now, we get the most important line of the episode.
If Jeff didn't change, then Jeff is right. Case closed. Let's make some money.
As usual, Troy gets to the heart of the matter. That Jeff would do this, try to incept a lawsuit into his friend's brains, seems to suggest that Jeff hadn't changed. And if Jeff didn't change, then Greendale is pointless, and by extension, the show is pointless. The fantasy of Jeff Winger, hero at law, the crazy dream that a dirtbag can become empathetic, become good by connecting with others, isn't just an advert. And it isn't just a tongue-in-cheek nod to Community's increasing proclivity for the zany and the high concept. It is Community. It's the basic premise of the show. And if Jeff didn't get better, if it was just a fantasy, then what was the point of any of this? Is there one? Is there a point to any TV like this? Characters growing and changing every episode only for the status quo to inevitably, inexhaustibly return? When you've got to wring growth out every episode like a wet cloth, only to be doused again? Does it ever lead anywhere? Does anything ever really change? Can it? Or is it all just a big televisual hedonic treadmill going round and round to no end? So there's a lot at stake here. Personal growth, the concept of personal growth, the worth of the medium we're shown that growth in, an almost nihilistic cynicism is pounding at the door, begging to be let in. Hey, Harmon's back, what did you expect? But against all odds, that door stands firm. That nihilism doesn't get in. It doesn't seem like this at first. Those echoes of the pilot intensify. Structurally, Repilot's almost identical. The main body of the episode's made up of prolonged, bickery scenes of Jeff puppeteering the study group, with these broken up by him sneaking out for rendezvous scenes, Alan subbing in for Duncan, history repeating itself. It's things like this that suggest nothing had changed. But looking a little deeper into Repilot's moments of similarity, a different reading becomes visible. Yes, Chang is a teacher again, for the first time since that first year, stasis, but he's still bonkers. Change. Yes, the group quickly devolves into the same type of messy argument we'd seen 4 years back, stasis, but when things get real, all that falls away instantly.
Oh, it's okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Andre left again.
Change. Yes, Jeff had been playing his study group, getting them all on board with his planned litigation, stasis, but it's clear in his anti-Alan outburst that he's doing this to benefit them just as much as himself.
That
for making the last 4 years happen, and now I get to make them unhappen for me and the only people I care about.
His friends are in a bad way, life-wise, and he instinctively realizes that matters, that now his actions with the whole legal case thing have to take into account their well-being. That thing Britta was trying to communicate to him back when they first met.
You put human beings into a state of emotional shambles for a shot at getting in my pants?
Why can't you see that for the compliment that it is?
You're unbelievable.
Now he knows it, instinctually, from the get-go. Change. It's easy to watch Repilot, catch all those echoes of Season 1, pick up on that suggestion of stasis, and lose faith in that fantasy too. But if you're paying attention, you'll see the episode's ending coming well before Jeff does.
These are the signatures of the 5 people that are crazy enough to care about this toilet. And tonight, I almost got them to sue it. Heed the warning.
The moments of similarity we see throughout Repilot aren't repetitions, they're inversions. This is not the pilot, despite the structure, despite the echoes. These are different people, and this is a different, better Jeff. He changed, so Greendale worked, so he won't sue the school, so this all mattered, because of course it did. And just like that, the cynical, down-to-earth tone the episode's opening so abruptly established falls away. We close with a table on fire, a hologram, and craziest of all, the band getting back together. They'd all graduated, but they re-enrolled? That doesn't happen, none of this happens, but we end embracing the fantastic, the artifice, the televisionality of it all. This, too, is the show. One thing Community's always had on its mind, from the start of Season 1 to the Season 6 finale, is media, is TV and film as a sort of modern pop canon. A canon at once removed from reality and providing the only key that matters for deciphering that reality. This stuff is important to Abed, it's important to Jeff, it's important, I'd wager, to Harmon too. And so it's no surprise at all, really, that Repilot's attempt to justify its own existence, Community's continuation, didn't stop there, that it also ended up justifying this preoccupation with its own medium, and implicitly that medium itself. So Community didn't come back from the dead with a whimper, or even with a bang. It came back with an existential crisis, one it emerged from by arguing in the strongest, most affecting, and most successful possible terms for its own existence. And that's also true beyond the narrative thematic layer we've been looking at in this video. The characterization here walks back some of that flanderization that had crept in during Seasons 3 and 4, and the cast is on top form.
You staged a robot fight?
At least the drugs I sell don't get slurped out of my belly button. That's only on Tummy Tuesdays. Oh, it's okay.
In Season 5, Community came back with, well, actually, let's leave it there. In Season 5, Community came back. The 12 episodes that followed weren't always perfect, but they were often great, and they were always odd and self-aware and striving to mean something in the same way we see here. So Repilot wasn't just a shot in the arm, it was a rediscovery of and a recommitment to the promise of that original pilot, of that still essential premise, that people are better together and that people together are better.
They love when you shuffle the words around.
This conclusion is getting near Winger levels of glibness, sorry. But I really like this episode. I really like what it represents, to the point that getting to write about this episode was a big part of the reason I decided to make this series in the first place. And I'm just doing my best to get all that across. I hope I've succeeded. That's it though. Repilot, good. Do let me know what you thought of my take down below. Make sure you subscribe to catch the Ladders video and the Streets Ahead wrap-up that will be coming out before long, hopefully in the next month or two. And if you think stuff like this is cool, and if you'd like to help me be able to keep doing it, do consider supporting me on Patreon or by joining with a channel membership here. You'll be joining all the legends who do so on screen now. Thanks, guys. Especially Daniel Goldhorn, Karen Kuhlman, Magath, Ryan Emily, Something Capitalism Bad, Thomas R, and Weirdy Beardy. See you next time.